Welcome back to our 32 for 32 NFL preview series on the Goal Line Stand. I am Michael Lipinski, joined as always by Brett Halpern, and we are talking 12th man Seattle Seahawks football. I've waited for this one. Because I can't wait to shit on Pete Carroll, who I think is one of the more overrated coaches in the history of coaching. You don't run the ball. You don't run the ball on the 1 yard line.
Okay. First off, don't you think that Seahawks fans have lived through enough? By the way, just because someone's overrated, what is the venom associated?
It goes back to USC. This guy, there was all this pomp and circumstance with this guy. I don't know. There's something about him that he comes off as smarmy.
As what?
Smarmy.
What is smarmy?
Like,
has anyone ever used? Did you just coin that term?
I didn't make it up. It's a word. It means it's like I don't know. It greasy. Like if he were, there's something about this guy that
you don't like new wave players coaches. And he's the oldest coach in the league.
He is the oldest coach in the league. I just don't like. I didn't like him at USC. I thought he was arrogant. Maybe it's that California cool kind of thing, but I don't like the way he comes off. That's just my opinion on him. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe because I don't listen to Seattle sports radio and I'm not involved in it on a regular basis. But Pete Carroll, I find to be an overrated coach. Regardless of what he's won.
I don't view him as overrated. I think he's just rated.
Smarmy, an adjective. Integrating in a way that is perceived as insincere or excessive.
Is that from Urban Dictionary?
No, it's from Webster's.
I've never heard of smarmy.
Yeah, and the chewing of the gum and the whole thing just
Would you rather him chew tobacco?
I'm not saying he should be doing that, but I just don't like the guy. Let's get into it. Come on. It'll be 10 minutes of me ranting about.
Yeah, I know.
So, I know. You're very excited about it. So let's get into it. Seattle Seahawks, very, very good football team. Yeah. 11-5, NFC wildcard representative. But they've had some changes. Good, bad, indifferent. Let's get into it. First big name there is obviously Jamal Adams. And as we discussed on our Jets edition of this program, Jets made the right move by moving on from the guy. Did the Seahawks make the right move by picking him up?
I think they did. It's a different analysis when you're a team that is coming off an 11-5 season. I mean, sorry to say, Mike, they were victorious in the first round of the playoffs.
They had a scumbag that took a cheap shot at a quarterback.
Is this why you don't like Pete Carroll?
That has nothing to do with it. A little bit. A little bit. But
the truth finally comes out.
Took a cheap shot at Carson Wentz, and Pete Carroll was okay. It's great. It's fine. But screw that guy.
Wouldn't you? No, you see, the Mike Lipinski I know would like a coach that stands by his players. It's just when it happens against your beloved Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles were the better team that day.
Okay, well, I mean, unfortunately, you need to acquire more points than the other team, and they didn't do that.
They had a 55-year-old backup quarterback who tore a hamstring walking on the field. What do you have happened there?
Well, I think maybe you need to get a better backup. You guys did that. You addressed it in the second round of the draft.
We'll get to that. We're not talking Eagles. We're talking another bird. We're talking Seahawks.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay, so the Jamal Adams trade, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, again, aside from their playoff victory, they were also literally an eighth of a yard away from being the first seed in the playoffs last year, and they almost swept the reigning NFC champions. So this is a team that could have easily gone to the Super Bowl. I think they ran out of gas against the Packers. And one of the weakest links of that defense last year, at least, or what was exposed against the Packers, was the secondary. Now you're adding probably one of, if not the best safety in the league. It makes sense to me. As to the other acquisitions, Philip Dorsett, I think he never quite lived up to the billing of being a first round pick, first by the Colts, and then he went over to New England. Then they got a bunch of offense. It seems like they traded out offensive lines. If you look with the departures and the acquisitions, I think as a whole, I prefer the departures over the acquisitions as with respect to the offensive linemen. And then on top of it, Chance Warmack opted out. So you're not even getting the benefit of whatever he brings to the table. But again, I think as relates to the offensive line, the guys that are leaving were far more physical, more athletic. Well, either physical or more athletic, real tone setters like Jermaine Ifedi, DJ Fluker, Justin Britt, guys like Cedric Aboyhi, Brandon Shell, to me, just I don't think are quite as good. And that could potentially be an issue down the road. Carlos Hyde, I think, is an excellent pickup. To me, this guy just goes from team to team, and he's a good running back. I mean, this is a 1,000-yard rusher. But pairing him with Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, that might be the deepest running back backfield in the league.
I agree with you. I like that. I like that pickup a lot. He's a guy that doesn't get the credit I think that he deserves because he is a 1,000-yard running back, and he's bounced all over the place. And he almost like he's the unsung hero in a way.
Yeah. And but I again, very, very good pickup for the Seahawks. Bruce Irvin and Benson Mayowa, I think, are going to be relied upon a lot to produce along that defensive line, and I don't necessarily know if they're able to do that. So it should be interesting. Going to the departures, I think the biggest name is Mike's favorite player, Jadeveon Clowney, who amazingly has still not been picked up for this season. And I'm starting to wonder whether or not he just kind of chooses. I mean, he would not be officially opting out because he's not right now a member of any team, but in his own way, just opting out of this season. It appears as if he drastically overvalued his worth, and his asking price for all teams was just way too steep. Either way, I think it doesn't show up in the numbers, and he has injury concerns, which is I think the two reasons why he's probably not worth what he thinks he is. But I do think he is a game changer. I mean, if you look at the first Seahawks-Niners game from last year in San Francisco, he may not have had – I think he had one sack, but he honestly, I thought, dominated the game in terms of pressures, in terms of really just affecting what the Niners, were trying to do offensively. So when healthy, I think he's a very good player. Obviously, then he's also good at taking out quarterbacks, apparently. Sorry, Mike, don't get pissed off. Anyways, they also lost Quentin.
Fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. That wasn't Pete Carroll's fault.
Should have suspended him.
Okay, again, not Pete Carroll's fault. Anyways,
I blame Pete Carroll for Reggie Bush's issues at USC. Sorry, continue.
Okay. And defensive line lost Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods. I thought decent players, but I think the defensive tackle rotation should be pretty solid. Bradley McDougald was part of the Jamal Adams trade, and obviously Jamal Adams is a gigantic upgrade over McDougald. So there you have it with respect to their free agency offseason.
I really like the Jamal Adams pickup.
Yeah.
It made sense for them as a team to kind of rebuild the Legion of Boom. So
I also think, gonna go with what you're saying.
I say if there was a team where it made the most sense, it was probably Seattle.
Yeah, and I'd also say that I think Pete Carroll would get along with Jamal Adams very well.
Of course he will. Let's get to the draft. Let's take a look at this. What's your take here?
This was a typical Seattle draft in that their first round pick's always kind of a guy out of left field that most people didn't quite value that highly, but then always get really good value towards the back end of the draft. So Jordan Brooks, I thought was a really good linebacker. Most people, though, I think kind of viewed him as a top 45 pick, as opposed to someone obviously that would go in the top 32. Nevertheless, I think he will help out that linebacking corps. Darrell Taylor is a really interesting pick and a guy that I really think could dictate a lot as to how this defense is going to be. When you look at him at times, he looked like a first-round player, but he also had some injuries at Tennessee, which is why he fell down to the second round. He kind of went a little bit unheralded through the draft process. But again, when healthy, I think he's a hell of a player. Damian Lewis is a really solid offensive guard who now also, because of the Chance Warmack opt-out, is going to step right in and be one of the starting guards, I believe, for the Seahawks. Colby Parkinson, Stanford. Look, Stanford guys are just pro-ready. And the tight end room in Seattle was getting very bare and barren by the end of the season. They only had what the hell was that guy's name? Forgive me, I'm already forgetting the guy's name who was there, the tight end who almost scored the touchdown. It wasn't Will Dissly, it was his backup. But so it shows you how much they were kind of just playing with no names at tight end. Will Dissly is really good, and then they also picked up Greg Olsen in the offseason. We forgot to mention that. But so I think Colby Parkinson's a good pickup. DJ Dallas, I think also. Really, this running back room is now super impressive. DJ Dallas is an excellent pass receiving running back. So I think he'll help out a lot on third downs. Alton Robinson is a guy who I thought would go more so in the third round. So I think he'll also help out. He's a little bit more of a project, needs to refine his game a little bit. And then Freddie Swain from Florida. He's pretty athletic. I think he was worth a 6th-round pick. At that point, you're sometimes just drafting traits. So Freddie Swain was worth it in the 6th round. But all in all, I think this draft, you're going to see a lot of these later round picks for the Seahawks develop and contribute to the team, which is what pretty much happens every year, which is why the Seahawks continue to be relevant.
Yeah, like the Ravens, they hit big on the draft as a whole, not just those first couple names where everyone's like, it's a first-round pick. That's the most important thing. Now they do the due diligence and get it done across the board. We have 4 key questions for the Seattle Seahawks in 2020. This is an interesting one, the first one. Is Russell Wilson a top 3 QB? Hard to argue against it.
It's hard to argue against. So you have Patrick Mahomes. You base it on last year's performance. You have Lamar Jackson. I don't know if Lamar Jackson will continue to, because if the league is able to deal with his athleticism and make him more of a pocket passing quarterback, I think he falls down the rankings,
especially in that offense, because it's different. Like Kyler Murray in the air raid, as we discussed with Arizona, it's designed to get him into space and find these creases. Not the Ravens don't really. It's more of a hybrid kind of thing.
Yeah. So you have Lamar Jackson, you have Deshaun Watson. And then I think you have Russell Wilson, and you still have Aaron Rodgers. And look, Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams. Russell Wilson has DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Now he's going to have Greg Olsen. It's tough. He is at the bare minimum, he is a top 5.
Oh, easily, yeah.
So
you can make the argument that he's in the top 3, but you played it. You said it correctly. He could be 4, he could be 5.
Yeah, and again, I think it's also based upon how are you viewing it. Are you viewing it based upon this year only, collectively their career? Are you projecting it forward?
Well, I think you take what occurred a year ago and kind of project this year as well. What he did years ago and winning a Super Bowl, that's great, and that's part of who he is, but that was so long ago that it's not who he is in the current day.
Oh, he's 10 times the quarterback now.
Right.
So He's right there. And look, I would love to have him on my team. And great guy, great leader, tremendous in the locker room. He's everything you want as a quarterback.
Can't win the big one though. Couldn't win the Papa John's Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. He was stopped by the Rutgers deal. He got hurt too.
I don't remember, but
I think he banged up his ankle and he was by the third quarter he was out.
Rutgers,
I'm pretty sure.
Rutgers defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would agree with your assessment there. I think he could be. He's definitely a top 5. I'm not saying that I would want him on my team right now because I am fully on board the Wentz wagon. But if you said to me,
you would take Carson Wentz over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I'm a diehard.
That has nothing.
Now, if you ask me,
you're a diehard. Wait, are you saying you're a diehard Eagles fan or a diehard Carson Wentz fan?
Both. Yeah, no. If you said to me Wentz or Wilson, I'd probably take Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Carson Wentz.
Nothing against Carson Wentz. Absolutely nothing against Carson.
Carson Wentz is in that 6 to 8 range.
There's something special about Russell Wilson.
And he stays healthy.
Yeah, exactly. There's that. He's got that. There's something about him that he can make things happen.
Yeah. Let me ask you. I know we're going a little off topic. Would you rather have Richie Kotite or Pete Carroll?
Ooh, man, that's tough. Give me Richie the K.
Okay. Myself and all Seahawks fans watching. By the way, Seahawks fans, if you don't even know who I'm talking about, Rich Kotite was the coach of the Eagles back in the early 90s after Buddy Ryan left. He then coached the Jets, particularly when the Jets were 1-15.
I think he won 5 games as a Jets coach.
Yeah, and so my esteemed co-host here is saying he'd rather have that coach who once blamed the rain for wiping off all the ink in his play sheet as opposed to Pete Carroll.
He didn't know whether or not to go for 2 in Dallas because the rain destroyed his play chart.
But he wants him over Pete Carroll, okay? Yes. So myself and all the number 12s, we're going to disagree with you.
And look, one of my favorite professional wrestlers is a Seattle Seahawks fan.
My favorite female mixed martial artist, Misha Tate, Seattle Seahawks fan.
Brian Danielson, Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Question number 2, will the offensive line hold this offense back?
I think it is not quite as good as it was last year. And we kind of went over this in terms of the departures and acquisitions that they had. I think that they lost some physicality. Now you're going to have Brandon Shell at right tackle. I don't think he is quite as good. You're going to have a rookie at right guard with Damian Lewis. Center's going to be BJ Finney. I don't think it's bad. I think there are definitely worse offensive lines in this league. But if you think about it, one of the other hallmarks of this Seahawks offense is they're another one of these teams that likes to just pound it. And now they have a ton of running backs to do that. But again, I think you lost some physicality. So it could hold them back a little bit. I think they're going to be a little bit less successful in the run game.
Let's go back to the defense. We kind of talked about it. We've touched on it. But overall, truly your thoughts on the Jamal Adams trade from the Seahawks perspective. I already said I thought it made all the sense in the world.
Yeah, look, it definitely was a steep price. Some might argue that the Seahawks even overpaid. But I think when you're in the position the Seahawks are, where you're 1 or 2 games away from the Super Bowl and that close, you can overpay. Plus, the Seahawks are known for hitting on their, as we talked about, their late draft picks and not their first round picks. So maybe they should just always trade their first round picks, or something of that nature. Exactly. Plus, look, this is gonna, and obviously we're evaluating this as we do every team based upon what's going on, based upon assuming it's a normal season. Yeah. Obviously, COVID could change things in terms of a team's competitiveness. But to me, at minimum, the Seahawks are going to be drafting in the 20s. So don't, you know what? I mean, I'm okay to part with that and a few more picks for Jamal Adams. I just really think he's a game changer when you have other talent around him. For the Jets, it made no sense.
Right, he's a game changer for the Seahawks. He's not a game changer for for the Jets. If I'm a member of the Seattle 12th man, I'm extremely excited.
Yep, absolutely.
Sticking with the defense, final question. What is the biggest weakness on the Seattle defense?
Well, I think particularly with the absence or the departure of Jadeveon Clowney, I think it's the pass rush. You brought in Bruce Irvin, who several years ago, back when he was in Seattle, was really good. But he's getting a little long in the tooth there. You brought in Benson Mayowa. I don't know. Then you drafted with Darrell Taylor and Alton Robinson. There's a lot of unknowns. It's either a bunch of older guys or a bunch of unknowns in the pass rush situation. So to me, I think it's the pass rush.
Real quick, it's not on our list, but we'll throw it out there. Do you think Jadeveon Clowney could end up back in Seattle? Or it would make sense, right, from his perspective.
Yeah, and reports are he really liked it there.
Right.
So again, I think it's, do you agree to a deal that's less and do more of a 1-year prove it deal?
Right.
And again, his prove it deal. So he's not, I think he wanted about 20 or 20 plus million a year. So let's say they sign him for 13, 14 million. That's a pretty good prove it deal.
That's a good.
I wouldn't mind having that.
I'll take that prove it deal.
It's a lot of things you can buy at the dollar store.
Even from Pete Carroll, I will take that prove it deal.
Yeah, so reports are it's not that it was like screw the Seahawks or anything of that nature. It's just about the money. But he did like being up there.
His agent needs to do a better job, maybe. Unless he's a $22 million deal and we're wrong.
Well, but he's not going to get that now.
No.
Plus, next year the salary cap is going to be way low. So, frankly, I think the agent did a disservice to him because
I agree with you.
You'd much rather have a long-term deal at 18, 19 million a year than have a 1-year prove-it deal this year than go into a year with lower cap numbers.
Yep, agreed wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Seahawks fans, we are not going to give a prediction here because we are going to give that at the end of our 32 for 32 preview series when we do our big NFL prediction show. You can throw a subscribe, a thumbs up, a comment. Please comment about the idiot in the red shitting all over Pete Carroll. I'm a big guy. I can take it. Follow us on social at GL Stan Show. I'm Mike. That's Brett. We will see you tomorrow when we talk San Francisco 49ers.